So I managed to get access for the PC version of the final closed beta for Honkai Star Rail, and I've been testing it at 20 frames per second on an old potato that I borrowed. So I thought I would give you my impressions on it from the eyes of someone who is heels over head in love with Guardian Tales. Now I haven't really made this known, but I have been looking for a game to add to the channel alongside Guardian Tales. I am just being very selective on what I bring to the channel next. As for one, I need to enjoy it at least 3/4 as much as I enjoy Guardian Tales, and two, because of that, I think it needs to feel both similar to Guardian Tales but also unique in its own way. Star Rail has these things, but I haven't quite decided if it will be the game that stands next to GT for me to create content on. But as the self-titled hero collector, it would be nice to finally have another game to collect heroes in. Now everyone has been comparing Star Rail to Genshin Impact, and rightfully so. But I'm here to actually compare it to, surprise surprise, Guardian Tales. And you would be shocked as to how many similarities they have that go beyond the surface level. Now one more side note before I dive right into the meat of this video. I have played quite a lot of Genshin myself. I am AR55 there, and I played the story right up until the release of Sumeru. I just haven't been back since, and I probably won't be going back if I decide to focus on Star Rail. So starting with similarities, there are both first and foremost gacha games. That means that aside from a few free characters, your main method of obtaining characters will be from taking chances on the summoning system. As for the summoning system itself, without going into details on how it works, I'm just going to say that I much prefer Guardian Tales system, but that is a personal preference, and for those of you who have played Genshin, it is basically the exact same system. There is one more similarity that the gacha shares with GT though, and that is that there is a special starting banner that guarantees you an SSR character after 50 pulls. Star Rail calls them 5 stars, but for this video I will call them SSRs. If you remember, at the beginning of Guardian Tales, you are guaranteed a SSR hero after 30 pulls on the hero banner, and a weapon after 30 pulls on the weapon banner. Well, Star Rail has a special summoning banner that guarantees you one SSR hero within 50 pulls, and that's it. Nothing for the weapons, which are called light cones. Sticking with the gacha system, it also has a shop that does something akin to the Milage Shop that we have in Guardian Tales. There is a currency that you accrue every time you pull, and you are allowed to purchase stuff with it. In the CBT, they had rotating SR characters, exclusive weapons for the 7 base SSR characters, and get this, you can reinvest some of that currency into more pulls. In this way, it functions more like a cashback system than a mileage system. It's a win no matter how you look at it, but I still prefer Guardian Tales system overall. Let me repeat, personal preference. Other things in the shop include materials you can farm for in the game. There are also a couple extra shops tied to specific game modes, so I'll talk about them together. The first game mode is called Simulated Universe, and it is what we call in Guardian Tales the Camel Zone. You can play through a set of stages with some random buffs and nerfs and work your way to the end. It's the exact same thing, and just like in GT, you can accrue a currency to be spent back in a shop directly tied to this mode. Now the other mode of a shop is similar to what we call Orbital Lift in Guardian Tales. It's a series of fights that get progressively harder as you go further. Just like Orbital Lift, it gives rewards for each floor cleared, and as a bonus, it has a small shop tied to it that offers SR exclusive weapons at this point only. The mode isn't quite like Orbital Lift as it has requirements for clearing it at a 3 star. But the core idea is that the stages get harder the higher you go. So that's the extra game modes, the shop and the gacha. So let's now talk about the main story mode. Now despite being a 3D game with amazing art direction and graphics, you'll be very surprised that the story is played way more similarly to Guardian Tales than it is of its direct sibling Genshin Impact. By that I mean that the story isn't open world, but it's very much like Guardian Tales where you go from stage to stage completing the main mission and any side missions within each stage. Now you don't manually select every stage from the map as you do in Guardian Tales, since they have cleverly disguised it. But you will experience a loading screen whenever you move from one main area to the next. It's so much like Guardian Tales in fact that if you pull up the map, you will see that they also show you how many collectibles there are to be found in each stage. So within each stage, you are free to explore until you 100% clear the level. As for the story itself, from what I've experienced, it is quite solid. I would say that it has started out on the same level as Guardian Tales, and maybe even a bit higher. So if we follow track in this story, it can only get better. I also have faith that the story will be good because I enjoyed all of the main storyline I played in Genshin Impact, right up until I stopped. Not as much as Guardian Tales, but it was a very good experience. The side stories, however, the bit that I have played, since I have skipped a lot of them so I can do them when the game fully releases, mostly suck. Another similarity the story mode has to Guardian Tales is that on your way through it, you will unlock a few SR heroes on the way for free. So even if you never use the gacha, I think you will still end up with about 7 characters altogether. At least that's what I got from playing the CBT. Another similarity to Guardian Tales is that it has farming stages and an energy system. You get 180 energy that recharges on a timer, and the farming stages cost 10 each. You can farm for gold, character experience, weapon experience, and upgrade materials for your characters, which is one of the ways this game differs from Guardian Tales. But that's a long explanation beyond the scope of this video. Now let's discuss the one major difference this has that separates it both from Guardian Tales and Genshin Impact. And that is that Honkai Star Rail starts with an H and has 3 words to make up its name, whereas Genshin Impact and Guardian Tales both have 2 words and their names start with G. G before H, I guess. But seriously, the major difference is the battle system. Star Rail has a turn-based battle system, whereas both Genshin and GT have an action-based combat system. This is probably going to be a major factor in if you decide to play the game long term or not. Now I am old. I grew up in the age of turn-based combat games, like the first 10 Final Fantasy games, Chrono Trigger and Dragon Quest. Suffice to say, I like them, but they are an acquired taste. If I have to pick a recent game from memory it is similar to, it would be Octopath Traveler, but that would be meaningless if you haven't played that. I'm not going to break down the combat as that can be an entire video by itself, but I will say that if you really don't like turn-based combat, this game won't change your mind, as it does nothing to set itself apart from any of the predecessors I've ever played. It's a solid system that doesn't break the mold and is truly turn-based at its core. If you don't mind turn-based combat or even know what it is worth giving a try. And if you love turn-based combat, you already know what you are in for. There is no home base to build it like how we have HeavenHold in GT, but you do get visitors every once in a while to the train, which is basically your home base but without much to do at this point. So I think my final point of conversation will be the heroes you can collect. I'm not going to go into details on how any of them work or anything of the sorts, because buffs, nerfs and complete changes are still on the table between now and the official release. So what I will do is just highlight 2 characters I like. Himiko was the first design I fell for in this game, and I was lucky enough to pull her first during my CBT. Funny enough though, as I played through the story, I started to like Bonnie a lot more thanks to her backstory. And then I really fell for a character called Clara, not only for her story, but also for her design. And it isn't even Clara who I like the most, since she comes as a pair. There's a robot called Svarog that protects her, and I love it and the dynamic they share. So if there's one character I truly want on the official release, it will be Clara. Now with my favourite characters out of the way, I'm going to end this video on a slightly sad note, and tell you that unless you have oodles of money, you should never get attached to any one SSR character in this game. And that is because it does not have a mileage system like Guardian Tales, where you can choose any SSR after a certain number of pulls. And that is the main reason I don't like this gacha system. To fully explain it, I'd have to make a video on the differences this game has to Guardian Tales, which I probably will, but I don't really plan to make a lot of videos on this game until official release. If you do want to see that video on the differences though, let me know in the comments and I'll probably do it much sooner than I had planned, as it isn't currently in the works yet. As for the official release, the app stores have a placeholder date of April 26, but this hasn't been confirmed by the developers as yet. To keep up to date with the game, I suggest you visit the website and pre-register for it, and also visit the official YouTube channel. I will link both below in the description. Until next time, my name is Kujet and you can expect more Star Rail and Guardian Tales videos in the future.